So I've been reading these like passages from the Tao Te Ching, and so I just wanted to kind of put this out there because I got a comment saying something about saying it's they they had similar thoughts or similar ideas, but but without the religion. And my opinion on the Tao Te Ching is that it's not religious. This one book, this version, this whoever translated this, they definitely made it seem more religious and spiritual, but that's not really what it's not necessarily about religion. The Tao is not something you worship and pray to and praise and all these things, right? It just is. It's just the truth of the universe. It's everything. The Tao is not the God that runs everything. The Tao is just everything. It's like every cell in your body is a part of your body, but they're all individual cells, right? You are not the God. You are not God to your body. You just are your body, right? You are not saying, all right, blood cell number 5,000,000,001, you're my chosen one. You're not controlling your body. Your body just is doing what it does because that's how it developed, right? You are your body as a whole. You are the body, but you are not controlling the body. The body is doing what it does, right? I say this as I'm moving my hands. Like I'm moving my arms, right? But I am not the body itself, what's breathing, what's pumping the blood through my body, what's allowing me to think in the first place and to then allow me to move my arms, all of the nerves and stuff that's happening to allow me to move my arms and do these things. I am not doing that. I am thinking, move my arm, right? And then my arm moves. Everything else that happens, which is there's a lot that goes on in that process, I have no control over, right? And so in that sense, right, you are your body, but you are that's as far as it goes. Every individual part of your body is a part of your body, is a part of you, but it is not, it's separate, but if it's separate from you, it's no longer a part of you, right? Once it leaves your body, it's okay, you say you lost a finger or you started bleeding a little bit and the blood drips out. So the blood that falls out of your body is, it's not really a part of your body anymore. But that's potentially an abstraction that was unnecessary, so I'm not even going to go further with that. But pretty much what I was trying to say is that we are a part of the Tao. The Tao is not telling us necessarily what to do. The Tao just is. And we do whatever it is that we were developed and evolved to do, which is basically be a human and, I don't know, muck about. It's not that serious, right? And so in that sense, as you wouldn't expect every blood cell in your body to be singing your praises, oh, great and powerful, human, no, they're just there. And you don't expect your body to be, every cell in your body to be singing your praises because, what does that even change for you? Why would you want yourself to be praising yourself on that scale? It's just it's kind of absurd, right? And so that's kind of how I feel that's what the Tao is, right? And so you cannot really encompass everything that the Tao is because the Tao is everything. And so anything that is not within that circle, right, that you've created of this is everything. Whatever is outside the circle is also the Tao. There's no not the Tao. And so if you want to say, oh, then that's my God, then that's fine. And you can say that the Tao is your God and your Tao is everything, or your God is everything, and that's whatever, and you can sing its praises and you can do whatever you want. That's totally fine. That's not a problem. However, that is not how I see the Tao. It is not necessarily religious in the sense that I worship and am saying, praise be to the Tao. But at the same time, the fact that I exist and the fact that this is all here, I'm grateful. I'm glad that I could be a part of this. And so while my gratitude is probably not needed and, wasted by directing it anywhere, at the same time, it just feels like the right thing to do. So on that hand, you could see it maybe being a little bit, spiritual, but I would say that I see it as like, if someone was to, make me a sandwich, I would say, oh, thank you, right? Does that mean that I am worshiping them? No. I'm not worshiping them. Oh, thank you, great sandwich person. It's just saying thank you, because it's like, oh, thanks for that. It doesn't mean that I am, worshiping, the Tao for existing and for, letting me be here. I'm just saying, oh, thanks, appreciate that. So anyway, back to the whole point I was trying to say is that the Tao is not something that requires worship. It just simply is everything and creates all. It does not mean your God is false or not real. It just means that the Tao was first. If you say that your God is all and nothing came before, then you are describing the Tao. There is no contradiction here. If you had a pet cat and you called it Whiskers, is it a Whiskers or is it a cat? They are both true, and yet it does not mean that the cat itself considers it a cat nor a Whiskers. By this, what name can truly be said to be correct? All is the Tao. The Tao is just a name. The Tao itself doesn't identify with such a limited idea. So what I'm saying is, as I was saying, you can call the Tao God, right? So when you say there's only one God, my God, that's fine. Then what you are calling God, I see as the Tao, right? And, just because, like I said with the pet, just because you call the Tao God, right? You gave the Tao a name, and technically I gave the Tao a name by calling it the Tao, but the classification is the Tao is everything, right? So you could either call it everything, or you could call it God. And it doesn't change what it is that you're referring to. It's a different word, but it does not change what it is that you're referring to. That doesn't mean that God or everything, the Tao, is saying, yes, no, I'm actually God and I'm not the Tao. No, the Tao, it doesn't care, because it's everything. The concept of giving it a name in the first place doesn't even make sense. It's like, what even is a name? How could you name what is everything? I'm not one thing, I'm all, right? So, what I'm trying to get at is that, anyone that wants to be religious can both believe in their God and also follow the principles of the Tao Te Ching. They can both be religious and follow the Tao, or they can be non-religious and follow the Tao, or they can follow the Tao and follow the Tao, right? They don't. It's not limiting. There's no requirements and there's no limitations. You can do whatever you want as long as you're following the principles of the Tao. It doesn't matter what else you believe. It doesn't matter how you follow them. It's just a matter of, I guess you don't even need to necessarily follow them, but like at least try and live in this way. And if you don't want to, that's fine too. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could say, I hate that. Like I don't want to do it, and that's fine. Do you? It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you doing you is following your path, is living the Tao. Even though you're not following the Tao principles, you doing what you want to do, how you want to do it, that's fine. Like you can do that. No one's gonna tell you no, right? Except for people that do. um, right. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is that, I'm doing these readings, and some of them mention like spirituality, and some of them talk about God and mention God and religion, and that's more of this translation that does that. And as I said, that one's more flattened, and it's not as good in my opinion. Some of it is good, but some of it's not as good, right? And so what I think is important to think about is that there is no right way to practice, and there is no judgment. And if you want to look at it from the perspective of pretty much this world is not all that there is, in theory. And if that is true, then, you may not, quote unquote, go to heaven in this life, but that doesn't mean you go burn in hell for eternity. You're in hell as long as you want to be, because you're the one who decides if you're in hell or not. And if you decide, you know what, I'm done with this, right? You decide when that is. You decide, I'm done with this, right? Then you get saved, right? And so that is how the Tao works. Everyone is saved when they're ready, right? When they want to be. If you don't want to be saved, that's fine. The Tao doesn't care. You keep doing you. And then when you want to, change your ways and be a little bit more, altruistic, I'll say. And instead of living for yourself, you live for the collective, you live for everyone, you live for everything, you live to benefit all, not just yourself. That is when you return back to the Tao and the knowledge of the Tao and the way of the Tao, and start to live, I would say, a more balanced and healthy life. And so you can do whatever you want. My recommendation is to, follow in the way of the Tao, because as I said, the way, it wasn't this talk, but the way of the Tao is what has lasted this long. So there's probably a reason why it continues to be, but, that's for you to find out at your own time. And so if you like, doing what you're doing, then keep doing it. It doesn't matter. However, it's also not an excuse to just be an awful person to everyone all the time. And I think that the fact that I have to say that is just so stupid, but some people can take that as an excuse and run with it. And so I'm just putting that out there, that's not what I'm implying. But I am implying that if you want to consider yourself atheist, that's fine. You don't have to believe in anything. Just know that believing in nothing is still a form of belief. And so you can say you're not religious, but in a way, atheism is a religion. And I know that that's potentially an argument and it sounds counterintuitive, but it's just the truth. So that's that. Anyway, I think I said what I needed to say for this one. Let's check. Yeah. So, peace out.